first very important question is, have either of you, are you familiar with the Chicago delicacy, the Italian beef sandwich?
I am. I am. No, absolutely. Absolutely. Chicago, yes. Chicago beef, sure.
Jack,
think I
have
have
you
one a long
indulged?
time, a long time ago. Not recently.
So whether you're an Al's person, a Portillo's person, Mr. Beef, I'm still yet to visit. Special shout out to Bari Foods on West Grand Ave, which I had to look up because this thing was both hot and very wet, more or less close to destroy the inside of my car. It was so worth it, and I've been thinking about it for friggin' months since my last trip out there. Brian Portnoy, I'm coming. You're going to feed me one. The point is, like, the Italian beef is a working class sandwich. It's bread, it's meat, it can be made sweet, it can be made hot, spicy. It's kind of anybody can agree on it. It's the kind of thing you can put in a pot, and with the right kind of bread and the right toppings, you can doctor it up in different ways to feed a small village, but it's going to fill you up. It's going to stick to your ribs. And this right here is what brings me to the point of this cultish corner. I want to talk about the bear, which is kind of about this sandwich, at least at its inception. Now, Jack, I believe you've never seen this show before. Are you culturally aware that this show exists at all? It's fine if you're not.
I'm
Really
the
doesn't
least
matter.
culturally aware person of all time, and I basically say no to every single time you guys think about anything. But I am aware that it exists, although I haven't watched.
This is great though, because this means I get to try to sell you on the cultural value of this. And Ben, you're a fan, maybe not all the way caught up.
Yeah, I caught, yeah. Season 1 and 2 for sure. Have not started season 3 yet.
Okay, so Jack, the bear is basically, and this is my pitch for why this belongs on breaking news and part of this conversation. I think the bear is the most zeitgeisty middle show possibly I've ever seen. Like, we've unlocked a new level of what it means to be in the Great Ravine in this show. And it's profound, it's beautiful, it's happy, it's sad, it's all the things at once. Everything we're talking about this in this episode of Breaking News shows up on the 2.5 seasons we basically have so far on television. Conclusion forthcoming, likely the last bit of this. So it's a show about an Italian beef spot in Chicagoland, which is to say it's about Chicago. So it's the middle of the country. It's about mostly middle-aged people, meaning they have people older than them and younger than them in personal and professional settings. And it's about rites of passage, where the middle is the part of the cycle that's not the death and it's not the birth, but it's the thing you're in. And that can be a ravine, which is a lot of what we're talking about here and a lot of what the show deals with. This winding gyre is kind of like the entire premise of the show, both in life, in relationships, in family, in business, and everything else. Now, the key part about the show is it's a show about a restaurant. We'll talk about what it is with moderate spoilers in a second. But it's this concept of it's a show about nourishment. Curious, Jack, as our bear noob, what the word nourishment, like, I mean, when you think about food, like, is food something? Are you a food guy? How much of a food guy are you?
Yeah, I'm probably like a moderate food guy. I'm not like over the top, but I certainly love food.
Ben, I know you love your hot chicken, but how you're a food guy? Yes.
Yeah. I think I'm a moderate foodie. I'm not at the level of, like my partner Rusty Wynn or, I'm not way out on the foodie spectrum, but I'm moderately there. Sure.
So what's fantastic about this show is that it takes this idea of food as nourishment and it makes us explore it from all these different angles and what is nourishment in all these different scenarios. So the quick semi-spoiling, but if you've been on the internet, you would know at least this much about the show. It's about, so our chef, young Carmy, him and his brother grow up daydreaming about opening a restaurant called The Bear. The brother succeeds in opening up his own Chicago beef restaurant. That's where this thing starts. And he will famously not let his brother into the kitchen, which, like any good sibling, he takes that sadness and he turns it into anger. And what's he do? He travels the world over to become a world-class chef. As we find out, the inception of the first season, the brother has passed away. It's a suicide. And who inherits the restaurant but young brother chef Carmy, who now is big world-conquering chef. And he's got this crappy, scrappy little disaster of a restaurant that he's just inherited, and the kitchen that he was always barred by his own family from ever being a part of is now the thing he is going to fix and make successful. Season 1 is grappling with the loss of his brother and the inheritance of this kitchen, him now being bumped up a notch in the middle of his family by losing the oldest brother. Season 2 is about, as we find out at the end, he realizes it's not going to be the beef. And I mean, come on, like this alone, like, Ben, you got to love this. The place is called The Beef, but then it's the bear. And we're talking about the meat that nourishes, then the bear that hunts and kills and swipes down and all the things. Like, it's all the metaphors, all the layers are in here. But the second season is Carmy converts the family restaurant into the fine dining restaurant. It's about that transformation. And what does it do? How do we guide all these things into this direction? And then the third season, we see this restaurant off and running, and we realize just what happens when we try to scale something up or make it bigger, and we haven't fixed the things below the surface yet. And that's every angle of nourishment and the idea of a luxury fine dining experience that is selling the experience of nourishment, selling the experience of nourishment at a premium value. And it's all broken. The finances, the personal relationships, the people themselves. So this is where I think this is what makes The Bear so zeitgeisty of this moment. So a couple of things that The Bear is definitively not. The Bear is not Succession. The Bear is not in the middle behind like a Logan Roy, where you have the family fighting to succeed him. This is another beautiful piece of wordplay, succession and succeed. It's all too much. But Succession, their nourishment food metaphor is actually all through that show too. If you watch Succession really closely, best looking food on television that nobody friggin' eats. The Bear is also not Ted Lasso. Ted Lasso is like, it's these middle transitions, which is great, but the bottom up feel good Ted, the coach character, it's Disney wholesome. It's very great. I love it. It's one of my favorite shows from the last several years, but I love it in the same way that I love Ratatouille, which at this point may very well become another Cultish Corner, because I had to drag my wife back into like, we need to rewatch this child's movie so I can sob uncontrollably at the gorgeous restatement of rats creating nourishment for each other in community. But food in Ted Lasso, you have the biscuits that he makes for his boss, for Rebecca, that he makes out of love. You have the tea that he spits out that she repeatedly offers him. It's about who's feeding who. And that's a really powerful, beautiful thing to step back and study. So Succession is kind of one pole and Ted Lasso is the other pole. This is my widening narrative gyre in my favorite regular TV shows. And how we talk about us, our relationships, demographics, our sports, and our media, all the big politic, big media, big tech stuff that we just talked about before, we see these at these poles. On Succession, it's you can't make a Tomlet without breaking a few Gregs. You kill or be killed. It's the media savagery. It's all the internal politics of, what was the expression you used? The new golden rule? Do unto others, but do it first.
They would do it to you, but do it first.
I mean, that's Logan Roy all the way through, and everything that he's raising his kids to try to figure out for them to be serious people and be the number one boy. And then the Ted Lasso end, the quote, I always figured that tea was going to taste like hot brown water. And you know what? I was right. It was horrible. Like, nourishment is how we put meaning inside this. Now, if I tighten those poles up, and I think this is really interesting too, Jack, you're going to have so many show recommendations by the end of this. Because also in the middle, closer than Succession and Ted Lasso, I would say you can put like Schitt's Creek is close to The Bear, but it's like lighter and a little bit more ha-ha funny. And then on the other side, you have Barry, which is also close to The Bear, but it's heavier and darker, and it's that like, oh no, anxious, funny. And this is the zeitgeist around us. This is art imitating life. This is all the things we're experiencing are showing up in the art we're consuming, and they're trying to talk about it. But I think, again, The Bear is zeroing in on this in a way I don't see any other show zeroing in on. I know you're not caught all the way up. Super light spoilers again. If you didn't see the show and you know that Jamie Lee Curtis shows up at some point, there's two particular episodes that I want to just touch on. Food as a symbol, again, for nourishment of not the death, not the birth, in the middle, how we survive. Do you remember the Christmas dinner episode at all, Ben?
Oh, yeah, the 7 fishes. No, it's amazing. It's amazing.
Okay,
Yeah.
so what's mom doing in that episode to the degree that you remember this at all?
Oh, she's cooking all day, and anyway, I remember everything about that episode. By the way, so it's all good.
How much does everybody want mom to make 7 fishes for dinner that night?
Not at all. Not at all. No one wants it. No one wants it, but it's going to happen.
It's going to happen. The anger is getting directed at the making of this dish that mom is going to make everybody in the damn family appreciate what she is doing for them and take that suffering and Carmi coming back home. And my God, if you left the house a kid, you are going to be made to feel a kid when you come back. Why mom struggles to do this. We watch the daughter, we watch Shug basically try to soothe, be a mom to her own mom and be a mom to her siblings. We see all the family trauma of food as a symbol and it being weaponized in this family meaning. And we see it from all the directions. And it's a really powerful thing, cooking, pressure cooking, thinking about the heat, all the metaphors that are coming up here. And it's understanding that the family, so if food is the nourishment that brings us to experience, then the act of sitting down, the family is the meal, the experience is the meal, the people are the ingredients. And that episode, the Forks episode, no episode does a bad meal, a bad experience like the way you can't unsee that one. That's a life-altering piece of conceptual fiction on a screen. Now, there's a really interesting piece here. We can take that, we can also repackage it. We can think about what's the, in Succession, that's probably like a bore on the floor scene. In Ted Lasso, he has an anxiety attack and leaves the room or something. But this is traditions and traumas. Everything is old till mom drives the car through the living room wall. It's traditions and traumas. Now, newest season, there's an episode, it's called Ice Chips. And we see Shug and mom back together because Shug now has to call mom because she is in labor and there is no one to help her because her husband's away on business. And in a sheer act of panic, she calls her mom. And Jamie Lee Curtis, back on scene, back on camera. When I tell you that this is touching and shocking and moving on a level that the 7 Fishes dinner is, we watch mom and daughter, reverse roles now, where mom is trying to take care of daughter. And whether or not either of you experienced with your own spouses and births and everything else, mom feeds the daughter ice chips. Now, I asked about Italian beef. Have either of you dined on the delicacy that is ice chips in the past? This is a show about trauma, tradition, nourishment, meeting. And here's the beauty of it. At the birth of a new thing coming into the world, at the healing of the relationship between mother and daughter who acts like mother to mom, the meal is the meaning. The people are the people are the meal. The people are the ingredients inside of this formula. There's nothing more to it except for like the people being the right ingredients to make the right outcome in the middle of the thing that nourish each other. We can see it in that second season with the 7 Fishes Christmas dinner, where Christmas, birth, light in the world, all those metaphors, they're all baked in. We can see it blowing apart and blowing everybody out and sending everybody further down the negative trajectories they're on. But then we can also see the act of healing in this Ice Chip episode, where we say something that is just frozen water. No taste in frozen water, being the thing that leads us back to nourishment. And one movie quote for you, and then I'm going to bring us out with some notes. And it's not even a bear quote. It's my one Ratatouille quote for this. Ratatouille? Jack, you've seen Ratatouille, right? Actually, I don't know if your kid's old enough for Ratatouille. Okay. Ben, have you seen the masterpiece that is Ratatouille?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, you both have children of the right age to experience this. So the father and son, they're outside of the exterminator's shop. They're gazing at what humans do to rats. They're talking about the savagery. This whole thing, I could literally read you this whole thing. It could come straight out of this episode. It's Ratatouille is the widening gyre from like 2007, apparently. So Django is the dad. Remy's the son, the main character, not named Ratatouille. Kids get this wrong all the time. Correct your children, folks. And the dad says, this is the way things are. You can't change nature. Remy responds back, change is nature, Dad. The part that we can influence. And it starts with we decide. And Remy walks away and Dad says, where are you going? And Remy turns back and he says, with luck, forward. Where are we going? With luck, forward.